All right, y'all, so we're going to talk about, adaptations tonight. So we talked a little bit about adaptations today. So let's ask, what is an adaptation? Okay, what is an adaptation? Well, let me tell you. An adaptation is any characteristic that helps a plant or animal survive in its environment. Okay, an adaptation, underline, is any characteristic remember, a characteristic is like a trait. It's something one of my characteristics is that I'm really tall, right? One of my characteristics is that I'm right-handed. One of my characteristics is that I have green eyes, okay? Those are characteristics. It's something that it's either physical or behavioral, meaning it's something that you can see by looking at it, or behavioral is something that you see whenever it's something that it does, something how it acts, okay? So an adaptation is any characteristic that helps a plant or animal survive in its environment. Okay? So that is what an adaptation is. So there's two types of adaptations, okay? First type of adaptation is a structural or physical adaptation. What color should we do? Let's do orange. Okay. So we've got structural. So actually, let's put up here two types of adaptations, okay? One type is, like I was just saying, physical or structural. So physical or structural. All right? Physical or structural. I want you to think about what, if it's physical characteristics or physical adaptations, what do you think that's going to be? Probably what? Something you can see, right? So physical adaptation is also called external. External means, X means on the outside, right? So external means something on the outside, something you can see. So this is an adaptation you can see. Adaptation you can see. Let's even draw a little eye, okay? Let's draw an eye right here. So we know that it's physical adaptation, something we can see with our eye. That's kind of a creepy single eye right there, I know, but we'll just get over it. Okay. So, examples of physical, structural, external, all of those words mean the same thing. It's something that you can see that it has on its outside. So one of my physical adaptations, one of my physical characteristics is that I'm tall, right? You can see that when you just look at me. But one of the other kinds of, actually, well, we're not going to give examples of that kind yet. We're going to say what the other type of adaptation is. So the other type of adaptation is behavioral adaptations. Okay, behavioral adaptations. So behavioral. And there's other words for it, right? We can also call it, we can also, call it internal, meaning inside, things that we can't see. It's depending on how they act, right? So we'll go ahead and say internal right here. So behavioral, internal. So what symbol could we do for behavioral? Maybe some Z's to represent hibernation, because that's one of the ones that we'll talk about. Okay, Z's to represent bears hibernating. That's a behavioral adaptation. So a behavioral adaptation is an adaptation that you cannot see. Okay, it's a it is a something that you do. Okay, a behavior that you cannot see, right? It's a behavior you can't see. So let's give some examples of some physical adaptations first. Some structural, external, all those words, remember? So one of those physical structural adaptations would be like bird beaks. Bird beaks are different. Here, we'll do examples. Bird beaks. Have you noticed, have you ever stopped to think about how different bird beaks are? So, I mean, some beaks, like a hawk's beak, is sharp and curved because it's, you know, needs to go eat some animals, right? It needs to tear them up. But like a hummingbird's beak is long and skinny, and it helps it to reach into flowers and suck up the nectar, right? A pelican has a long beak with a pouch to help it scoop up fish out of the water. So these are all ways that birds have changed based on their needs. So pelicans got to eat fish. They need a quick way to scoop them up, right? So they've adapted to that environment, to that need. Hawks aren't going to be able to do much damage to a mouse unless they have a beak that can really just cut through, right? Another animal physical adaptation is camouflage, right? Camouflage. Camouflage. All right. So, like we talked about today in the Aggie class, we talked about how, like, the lion will hide in the grass in the savannah so that it can, you know, sneak up on its prey. That's something that a lion has to be able to do. It can't just walk up to the, if it starts walking up to the gazelle, the gazelle's going to run away, right? It has to be able to blend in. So those are animal physical adaptations. Plants also have, I'm going to do this so we know that these are animal, and then we're going to talk about the plant ones now. So plants also have things that they do to be able to protect themselves that we can see, right? That they can protect themselves, they can get more water or regulate their water if they need more or less. They have, you know, big leaves to get more sunlight, different things like that. So plant leaves are definitely a physical adaptation of plants, right? Plant leaves. We also talk about, like, you know, plants being like a vine growing. We saw that in the brain pop today. So vines growing upward, right? Upward. Do you remember why they did that? For more sun, right? Yes. Okay. So these are plant physical adaptations. So all the ones we just covered, bird beaks, camouflage, plant leaves, vines growing upward, those are all examples of physical, structural, external adaptations. Behavioral, internal adaptations are things that we can't see just with our eye. I can't look at Zamarie and know that he's a giggler, right? I can't just see that. That's a behavioral adaptation that he has, right? So, let's talk about animal behavioral adaptations first. So one of them would be bears hibernating, right? That is something that bears do. I wouldn't know that just by looking at a bear, but I'm going to have to study that bear and see what its behaviors are. So bears hibernating. Hibernating. Okay. So they do that because they're warm-blooded and it allows them to keep their body temperature the same no matter how hot or cold it is outside. So another behavioral adaptation of an animal would be like It would be like a flamingo standing on one leg, right? Flamingo on one leg. It does that for thermoregulation, we learned, right? So it does it so it can keep warm. So these are both animal examples. So plants also, you know, have behavioral adaptations. For example, plants turn toward the sun, right? Turn toward the sun. And then what about Venus flytraps? Remember how we, oh sorry, y'all can't see that. Remember how we learned about Venus flytraps? And how we talked about how we learned in the video too today, that Venus flytraps, they don't have enough nutrients in the soil, so they had to start adapting. If they wanted to survive, they're going to have to start adapting by eating flies and other small insects that they could chomp on with those little feelers, and then they could just suck them on up and dissolve them, right? So we'll just put Venus flytrap. Venus flytrap. And Miss Hasso has one, so we'll see it tomorrow. So these would be plant behavioral adaptations, okay? So I want you to put a line down the middle, okay? So those are the two, you know, categories of adaptations. We'll talk more about this as the week goes on and learn about why animals look the way they look and why they do what they do. I'm also going to take a picture of the Stemscopedia for this subject for adaptations, because it's very interesting. It really, you know, it goes into more depth and detail of what I talked about today. And I'm also going to attach the Smithsonian link, because they have kind of something similar to Wonderopolis, okay? And they have little videos that go with it, just like Wonderopolis does. So I'll attach both of those for you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget to finish that Countdown to Star homework. I'll go ahead and record it so you have a copy of it. Okay, have a good night. Bye.